Center for the first time ever.
They're chanting, "This is awesome," and the match hasn't even begun yet. It's one of the first times that's ever happened.
On behalf of the Raw Superstars, I can tell you that we cannot wait for Survivor Series. It's the only time during the year that Raw goes head-to-head with SmackDown. Raw champions versus SmackDown champions. Our 5 best female superstars versus their 5 best female superstars. And same with the men. And speaking of men, I have her 5 best men right now, and I'm about to announce them. The first is going to be...
Here we go.
Wait a minute. There's Shane McMahon and is that was that the new day and Becky Lynch and
That's like the
holy cow
roster.
SmackDown Live is here. SmackDown Live is entering the arenas. This is an assault.
The show of strength right here. SmackDown united.
How many are there, guys? And Kurt Angle, our general manager, he's alone in the ring.
Under Siege. Blue team. Go get him! Hold on.
Attention. Do I have everybody's attention now?
Hey now. Hello everybody. That intro is just getting worse and worse every week. Well, what's up, Joe? How are you doing?
Not too bad, man. Just got a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, man. Well, welcome to the Podcast Express, everybody. Last week I thought we had a really good show and a really good preview of TLC, and we recorded it on Thursday and uploaded it immediately, and I was proud. And then as I was driving down to Lompoc that day, the next day on Friday, I got a text message from you, and it was like, what the hell? The entire card had changed, so our whole show basically went down the shitter. So it was obsolete, as Broken Matt would say. And so after that, I was like, there's no real reason to tweet out the show because none of it matters anymore because the whole preview went to crap.
Yeah, I mean, just in a matter of hours, everything changing. And, we'll get a little bit more into it later, but really they had 5 minutes between Kurt Angle passing his physical and actually making the announcement. Like, that's how fast everything changed. Is he passed his physical on Friday, and then they announced it breaking news a couple minutes later. Yeah,
so we're assuming that if you're actually listening to this show, you already know what happened with TLC. So last week we ran down the card and we gave our predictions and kind of what we thought would be good, what would be crappy. And on Friday, news broke that Roman Reigns had gotten a viral infection. Turns out it was the mumps. And Bray Wyatt also has a viral infection, so his match with Finn Balor was off. And Bo Dallas he's been out for a couple of weeks. So they, which that did nothing to change TLC was Bo Dallas not being there. But so they brought in AJ Styles from Chile. He was working the SmackDown house shows down there. So they brought him into TLC for the pay-per-view to fight Finn Balor. And then they had Kurt Angle stepping into a wrestling ring for the first time in 11 years. He has not wrestled anywhere in the world, according to WWE.
Not a single time.
Not a single fucking match. So he came out of retirement after 11 years of being in obscurity. That part is actually true. He was in obscurity in TNA wrestling. But so they put him in the main event and had him as 1/3 of the Shield. And we're gonna break down the star ratings. I'm sure TLC's been beat to death, but what did you think of the show overall? And are you like me in that you thought that these changes actually made the show better, and you were far more intrigued with it?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we talked about it last week. Really, the only thing I was interested in as a whole was Asuka's debut and the Shield reunion. when the changes got made, I mean, Balor versus Styles, a hell of a lot more interesting than Balor versus Bray Wyatt again, even though it's going to be Bray Wyatt and drag this time.
Right.
The Kurt Angle return is a huge storyline, and also giving us something in the future, because now we know Kurt's going to wrestle again, and we'll also still have a Shield return or a Shield reunion in the future. So it still creates more intrigue for the future also. So yeah, overall, the changes made me a hell of a lot more interested, and most of our Twitter followers seem to agree.
Yeah, absolutely. We did a poll, and actually the poll did pretty well. And most people were far more intrigued with the changes that were made. And I got to say that I was far more intrigued. I became excited to watch the show because of the changes. And overall, I thought it wasn't a bad show. But it was really just two matches for me that actually did it. The Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, which was great. One of the best WWE, I'll say that, there's an asterisk there, a WWE match of the year. And, of course, the main event was awesome. Although I'm not a fan of murdering people on live television. But the fact that the fans, during that spot, the garbage truck spot, where they all turned on Braun Strowman and they murdered him on in front of a live audience and on TV. The fans started chanting, "This is murder! This is murder!"
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
I love the camera immediately panning over to Miz's face after they put Braun Strowman in, and he just has this look of like, "Oh my God, I have a kid on the way, and I just committed murder on national television." You could just see the fear in his face at that point once he realized what he had done. Absolutely sold it perfectly. Yeah,
but it turns out that if you can try this on your family members, maybe if you got a little brother, throw them in the back of a real garbage truck and just squash them. And turns out they'll probably only be out a couple of weeks, according to WWE. Yeah. So that's good news. I thought that you would die, but turns out it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I really like the idea that was thrown around a lot, which, 5 or 10 years ago, this may have actually happened, but WWE bringing in a smaller, compact version of Braun Strowman because, he has been squashed, so he's just a smaller version now. And then a couple weeks later, he falls into something and gets stretched back out.
Yeah, so who was it? Brian Alvarez that said that now that he's been compacted, Otis Dozovich should come out as the compact version of Braun Strowman.
I absolutely love that idea.
That could be. You ever heard of Chikara? Chikara, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Chikara Wrestling. That's where Cesaro got to start at.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. It's at the Indie Federation for Children. And I've never actually watched one of their shows, but some of their clips get shown around Twitter, and it's just a bunch of nerds wrestling in their pajamas, but they had these two guys in full pajamas and masks and stuff, and they had two tunnels, right? Yeah. And one guy was chasing this guy through a tunnel, then he'd pop out the other side, and then he'd run to the other side, and he would try to chase him into that tunnel, and the guy would pop out the other side. So instead of chasing him onto the other side, he just stuck his arm in one side of the tunnel and pretended like it stretched all the way around the building and come out the other side and choked the guy and then brought him through the tunnel. I was like, I hope Jim Cornette never sees this. He may die.
Just wait for Joey Ryan to get a hold of that tunnel and stick his penis through one end, and then it comes out and hits the guy on the other end.
I was hoping we'd go a full episode without mentioning Joey Ryan's dick, but you just had to go there.
I had to.
Yeah, all right. So we as usual we got off track, but all right. So we'll talk about TLC in a minute. We'll just talk about the star ratings and for each match, and we'll say whether or not we agree. But I think the big story of the week was Monday Night Raw. Shane McMahon showed up and decided he was going to take over, and he brought all of the SmackDown roster with him, and Raw was under siege, Steven Seagal style, and where they kind of went into the locker room like a gang and just started beating the shit out of everybody, and babyfaces and heels all became friends just so they can, destroy Raw like a bunch of gang members. In fact, I think they even said the word gang on TV, which I don't think they're allowed to do anymore. But Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler were teaming up on people, and then all of a sudden back on SmackDown they hate each other again. Yeah, and then Becky Lynch was attacking Sasha Banks, and they're supposed to be friends, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, really close friends apparently. I love the storyline. I wish they added something to Survivor Series to actually make it mean something aside from just brand loyalty.
Yeah.
I threw out the idea of, if your team wins or, if your brand wins, whatever, maybe getting an extra draft pick, or, if SmackDown wins, then they can be the main event of WrestleMania.
That's what I would do. Because if you're looking at this like it's real, right? Which it's not. But if you're looking at it like it's real, like if you're a bad guy wrestler in SmackDown, why would you care if you got the next draft pick? Like, I just don't know why you would care. So the only way to make sense to where you would want the bad guys and the good guys to get together to win for SmackDown is if there was some incentive. And incentive being, you have a better opportunity to become the main event of WrestleMania, or your brand gets, like, $10 million to split or something like that.
Yeah. I wouldn't do money just because I think people... we're not in an era where people are going to buy into that. Another idea I had was something to do with Royal Rumble. Maybe, better entrance in the Royal Rumble, guaranteed SmackDown or Raw gets the 30th entrant or the last 3 entrants. Something to where there's something really to fight for as opposed to just brand loyalty. But I still loved it. I mean, all in all, the scene where Chad Gable pushes people out of his way to be the first one to attack Jason Jordan, I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah, and you could tell they're they might have a feud down the road. That would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty interesting because I think it's only a matter of time. But Jason Jordan's got to become a heel eventually. So he's not a very likable guy.
Yeah, and why the backstage attack was so believable? There were 2 reasons why it was so believable. Is A, Brock Lesnar was nowhere to be found.
Right.
Because Brock Lesnar is not going to stick around after his segment. So
absolutely. He shows up
added into it.
Yeah, he shows up right before a segment, leaves right afterwards.
Yeah. And then the last part is, where did they find Dean Ambrose? In the back closest to all the kegs. Where there was kegs is where Dean Ambrose was. So that's why it was so believable.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. What I also think is funny is that just last year, Ambrose was on SmackDown, and he was fighting for SmackDown honor, and now he's on Raw, and all of a sudden he's supposed to give a shit about defending the honor of Raw. It's like, the whole thing's so silly, but I can't say that I wasn't intrigued. I really was, and I think the entire world was intrigued because the ratings went up for SmackDown after that happened, so that's pretty cool. That's good for them.
Quite a bit, and up against stiff competition. I mean, they went head-to-head with the World Series.
Yeah.
So, no slouch there.
Right, and I didn't watch a single goddamn minute of SmackDown because I was watching the World Series. So Tuesday night was a good night. Wednesday night, not so good.
Not so much.
not so much. But my Dodgers, man. Thought I was gonna have a heart attack last night. But
you guys are gonna have to beat Keuchel because you're not gonna get around Verlander.
No, well, we did. We were beating. Well, not to get sidetracked on baseball, but the Dodgers did beat Verlander. Just Kenley Jansen blew the save. And that's something he never does. So Verlander wasn't really a big part of that. They scored all the points after Verlander got out. So Verlander can suck a dick. I mean, he only beats Yankees anyway. I thought that whole thing was pretty cool. I thought that was real interesting, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to what they do next. Looks like the whole Survivor Series is going to be built around Raw versus SmackDown.
Yeah, I really think it's going to be probably a Shane McMahon-led team versus a Kurt Angle-led team.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to what they did last year.
Yeah, absolutely. We already talked about Reigns and Wyatt and Dallas all getting sick. I guess there's something going on with Kevin Owens. He had a family situation. He was wrestling in Chile over the weekend, and he had to leave for a family emergency, and then Triple H actually replaced him in a match against Rusev. I thought that was pretty cool. And you're our resident twerking expert. Did you see the video of him twerking, and how would you rate it?
I did see the video of him twerking, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give him probably a 2.5, just because he was able to cleanly turn the twerk into a pedigree on one of the guys from the New Day. Yeah. But aside from that, his form was awful, man. Like, white men, we should not try to twerk ever.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if you're a white guy on steroids, there's zero possibility that you have any kind of rhythm, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And his dancing moves were just so stiff. But at this point, if you're a older wrestler, kind of a quote-unquote legend, and you're dancing with the New Day, why does the New Day stay in the ring? They know they're going to get attacked. It happens every single time.
Well, yeah, that's what the people want to see, though. Yeah, but I thought that was pretty cool, and The Rock actually gave him a shout-out. So, rumors abound. Rock has been talking about wrestling a lot lately. Over the weekend, he actually tweeted out congratulating Kurt Angle for getting involved in TLC, and he tweeted out to Triple H about his twerking and things like that. And I think there was something going around where Rock is going to do something with a wrestling comic book. I have no idea what that was, but WWE is considering bringing him in to be the special referee for Brock versus Jinder Mahal at Survivor Series. He's one of 3 wrestlers that they're actually thinking about bringing in, and the other 2 being John Cena and Steve Austin.
Yeah, man, and you know what? I get what they're trying to do. Like, they want Jinder Mahal to be in there with another big star. It makes him seem more relevant. If there's just more big stars around him, it gets more interest in the match. Personally, I would like to see Stone Cold more than I would The Rock, because we've seen a little bit of The Rock the last few years, but I can't remember the last time we've seen Stone Cold in a WWE ring. And having Stone Cold and Brock in there at the same time, even though a match probably is never going to happen, it doesn't make a lot of sense now. It would still be cool to see at this point.
Yeah.
I know it happened back at WrestleMania, so maybe they could have something happen there after Stone Cold laid them out at WrestleMania several years ago. So I would be more intrigued with that than The Rock. But either way, I think it's a smart move to go ahead and do a special referee, because there's just not a lot of interest in that match.
There's zero fucking interest in that match. Nobody cares about that match. Not a single. Well, maybe there's some people in India that are broke and have no money to spend money on, shit that WWE is sending out. But they get a lot of YouTube clicks, I guess. But
they do.
There's zero interest. Jinder Mahal has not been booked as a strong champion. Brock Lesnar has. So I think that they're going to need a guy like Steve Austin or The Rock or even John Cena to be put into that. I think the one that makes the most sense, but has the least amount of intrigue, is John Cena, because then they can do the John Cena Jinder Mahal dream match that people have been wanting to see forever, I guess, at WrestleMania.
Yeah, could you? Oh man, the idea of John Cena's quote unquote record-breaking title win being over Jinder Mahal at WrestleMania kind of makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, but like him or not, man, he's going to be a champion for a long time. Especially he was just in India, I think, over the weekend, and they're going to be doing an India tour in December, and he's already going to be on that tour defending the WWE title. So, that's another reason Survivor Series is going to be a non-title match. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't care, but if they add The Rock or Austin, I will actually care. I'll be wanting to see that. Braun Strowman is a babyface. Do you think WWE listens to this show? I mean, how else would they know to do exactly what I told them they should do?
Yeah, I feel like maybe not Vince, but one of the writers is listening.
Maybe.
And a shout out to that guy.
Yeah, shout out. You're one of our. I think the most listeners we've ever had is like 500. So if you're one of the 500 listeners that we've ever had, shout out to you, sir. And you can keep the fucking credit. I just want to see the guy become a big time babyface star. Now what they need to do is move him to SmackDown and have him squash Jinder Mahal in a minute. I think that's the move. But looks like Braun Strowman is going to be fighting Kane at Survivor Series. Everybody that's watched TLC already knows that Kane turned on Braun Strowman, and then the next night he jobbed out poor old Finn Balor, who had a lot of momentum coming off of his amazing match with AJ Styles, but which is a whole nother thing we could talk about. But I really dig the Braun Strowman babyface turn. I think it's long overdue, but he's still pretty hot right now, and I say you just give the guy the ball and let him run with it.
Yeah, what's going to suck, though, is when he returns, they're probably just going to back a dumpster truck into the arena at Raw and then have him come out the back of it, just like he did the ambulance. Like, I feel like that's what's going to happen, but him being a babyface, I love it, man. Like, he's been the biggest star WWE has created in the last year or two. I mean, he's a WWE guy. I don't think he's wrestled anywhere else. So like, he's a true developmental guy.
Well, and I think he only had like 1 or 2 NXT matches, and I don't think any of those were on TV.
No, I mean, his TV debut, I think, was as a Rosebud for Adam Rose.
Yeah.
And then he debuted with Bray Wyatt a couple weeks later. So like they get all the credit for creating this guy, and he's been a star. Like the fans are behind him. Like I haven't seen anybody behind a big guy before, or at least in a long time. It's time for them to pull the trigger. Him going to SmackDown in some way, shape, or form to be champion makes a lot of sense. Maybe they do a AJ Styles for Braun Strowman straight across trade, because at some point you feel like they got to have Styles on Raw. That guy's just been money.
Yeah.
So I would do that and put the title on him.
Absolutely, and just let him run with the belt for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Jericho. He's working an angle on Twitter with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've been following along with it. It's really hard to tell with Jericho, like what doesn't work and what's really ticking him off.
Dude, it's definitely a work. I mean, those Jericho has had all those guys on his show at different times. Now, Omega's a Winnipeg guy, and they all did a show together for Lance Storm's podcast. So they're definitely friends. It's definitely all a work. He's very good at the whole work shoot type of things, and making us believe that he actually hates somebody. So, and he will never admit that it's a work until after it's already over. But he's doing his Jera cruise. I think it's like a rock and wrestling brews cruise or something like that, where he's gonna have a Ring of Honor there doing a tournament, and he's gonna have Fozzy and then a bunch of other bands, like some cover bands, and I think Jim Brewer is gonna do comedy. Some guys like that. So it's like it's going to be a whole thing.
I think Mick Foley is a part of that as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think Mick Foley's going to be doing a Q&A there.
Jim Ross is going to be there, so it's actually going to be a big deal. I will not ever fucking go to that, but I'm sure the people that do go to that is going to have a pretty fun time. But could we see Chris Jericho wrestle Kenny Omega on a boat?
Well, what's awesome? Like, he's not under contract for WWE right now, but he has consistently said the only company he'll ever wrestle for is WWE now.
Yeah.
But if he's going to wrestle for anybody else, it's probably going to be his own damn cruise.
Right. Like if he's going to do it because he's promoting the thing. Ring of Honor is just supplying talent, so they're not actually part of the whole deal. So if he's not going to wrestle for WWE, he's going to wrestle for himself.
Yeah. And him versus Kenny Omega, I think, would be amazing. Hopefully, if that were the case, I would hope he records it, because I would buy a DVD of that.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be awesome, man. And the Young Bucks are getting involved in it, but, of course, we would not be able to see half of the tweets that the Young Bucks are sending out because fuckhead Joe got us blocked. Why don't you tell that story?
Oh, man. I can't even remember what I tweeted. Oh. It was during the Cruiserweight match, and was it like a 5-on-5 cruiserweight match? I don't know. A bunch of the cruiserweights threw super kicks, and I just tweeted out and tagged the Young Bucks in it, like, oh shit, 4 super kicks were just thrown. The Young Bucks are going to be mad that their ripoff of Shawn Michaels was just ripped off, or something like that. Something along those lines. Yeah. And Matt Jackson did not take kindly to it, because he blocked me almost immediately.
He's been blocking a lot of people, apparently.
Well, he blocked me, my personal account last year, and I had never even tweeted him before. Like, I didn't follow him, didn't tweet him. I had an exchange with Kenny Omega that blew my Twitter up for a couple of days, and Matt Jackson saw it and went and blocked me because of my exchange with Omega.
Yeah.
And Omega was the one I was going after. Him and I had several tweets between each other, and he never blocked me. I give him so much credit, because I was a dick to him.
Yeah,
and he never blocked me.
I think he enjoys it. He enjoys going back and forth with people. So, I would not enjoy it. Shit, whenever I went back and forth with Baron Corbin, my Twitter was blowing up. I was like, "Fuck this!" I started deleting tweets, man. I didn't want any of that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was over a year ago, and I still get people who like tweets that Kenny Omega sent to me.
Yeah, I'm still getting likes and retweets every single day of the tweet that I sent to Big Cat from Pardon My Take.
Yeah,
yeah. That I think it's like up to like 10,000 likes or something like that right now. I had no idea that guy was so popular. I like his podcast, but and then I looked at his page and he has like 400,000 followers. Like, oh wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, hey, good for him. Yeah. I mean, I know that thing with ESPN went south, but hopefully he can come out on top of it.
Well, he still has his podcast, so and then Barstool is still a big brand, so I think they're gonna be fine. So no worries with those guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the TLC star ratings. Sasha versus Alicia Fox was 2.5 stars. I didn't watch it. Do you agree?
I did not watch.
Okay.
I didn't watch it either. I was still on my way home from Rockies after watching the Niners get their ass kicked by the Cowboys. So.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
Asuka versus Emma. Dave gave it 2.5 stars. I would say it's 1.5 stars. I did not like the match. I thought it was crap. It was sloppy. And I really thought that Asuka should have killed her in about a minute.
Yeah, they should have done a squash match there. Makes no sense not to, but hopefully she moves on from this pretty quickly and gets something better in the future. That wasn't the match to do.
Yeah. Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann versus Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick. Got 3 stars. That was a really good match. And I said it on the show. I was like, or during the show, I tweeted it out that Alexander and Swann would be a great tag team if they can get away from 205 Live.
I don't know why they don't let other cruiserweights be in tag teams or whatever outside of 205 Live, because you only have one champion. You only have one challenger at a time. They had a great showing. I mean, I would have rated it a little bit above a 3-star, not quite close to a 4-star, but it was a really fun match. There were some really good spots in it.
Yeah, and the crowd, who is normally, they're quiet during 205 Live matches or cruiserweight matches, they were actually, getting involved. They actually really liked this match, though, and I actually enjoyed it too. So it was a pretty good match.
Yeah, and I really like Gallagher wrestling in a full suit also. That was unique, and the guy is just kind of an idiot, so it was funny to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alexa Bliss and Mickie James, it was 2 3/4 stars. How did you have it?
I honestly would have went a little bit higher also on that.
Really?
I went like 3 3/4 maybe. Not too high, but I did think it was a fun match. There wasn't, any botches in it. They told a good story. It was, in my opinion, Mickey's best match since being back with WWE. I liked the promo afterwards. I liked that Alexa won. I had it rated a little bit higher, but I'm not surprised that's kind of where he went with it.
Yeah. Enzo and Kalisto, 1 3/4. I thought that was way high for that match. I would have given it a dud.
Yeah.
That was crap.
That match is a thing that happened, and let's try to forget about it.
Yep, let's all just move on. Finn the Demon Balor versus AJ Styles. No storyline, no feud, no nothing. 4 1/4 stars. How did you have it?
I thought at least 4.5. Honestly,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go 4 3/4 because
Right.
I didn't really. Looking back at other matches that have been rated at this year, I wouldn't say it was as good as Bate vs. Dunn, but I thought it was better than some other matches we've seen get 4 1/4 from WWE. I really like the idea of no storyline. There's really nothing to it. Just 2 great wrestlers trying to get the win. William Regal tweeted out about, that's really all you need, and then everything else you get in terms of story is just a bonus. A good job for them. Like, they had no time to work on that match. They'd never wrestled each other before in a singles match, so they probably only got a couple minutes to talk about what they were going to do, and they absolutely delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have had it right around there. I guess, if you go 4 4.5, you're kind of just splitting hairs at that point. But I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was the best match of the night. And the second worst match of the night is next, is Jason Jordan versus Elias Sampson. If Elias just does his little shtick where he comes out and then is strumming his guitar and insulting the crowd, if he only does that, and he just does it for a couple of minutes and then he leaves, he's great. But then they had him out there 3 fucking times, and for whatever reason, Jason Jordan is throwing goddamn vegetables at him. That makes no, where did he get those vegetables? Did he go to the grocery store just to, and when he went to the grocery store, was he in his tights? That's what I want to know. I need to know these details.
I think he was in his tights.
Right.
Because the reason he was in his tights is because he stole the fucking shopping cart.
Right.
And the only way he gets away with that is nobody's trying to tackle a guy in his tights and baby oiled.
Yeah.
No one's trying to tackle that guy.
No, absolutely not. So it's obvious that he went to a grocery store in his fucking tights. He got all baby oiled up and sweaty. Went down there, bought some produce, bought some vegetables. Hey, guy in your tights, what are you gonna do with these vegetables? Oh, there's another half-naked guy that comes on our show, strumming a stupid guitar, singing shitty songs. I'm gonna throw these at him. It's oh, would you like tomatoes? That makes total sense, but no, I'm not gonna do that. I want to throw lettuce and kale at him.
I mean, it's something that happened.
Yeah,
I guess.
And then they had a shitty match. 2 stars from Dave. He's being generous, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, the crowd could not care less about this match. Honestly, they cared less about this match than they did Enzo and Kalisto.
Yeah,
they did.
I would agree.
It was a dud.
Elias is just like, he gets more heat than anybody in the company, all the way up until the moment that bell rings.
Yeah.
If he can find a way to turn that pre-match heat into in-ring work, he might be the best heel they've had in a while.
Yeah. I just hope I know it's going to happen where he's going to have to feud with Kurt Angle. They should turn him heel and then see how he does before wasting a feud with Kurt Angle. Because Kurt Angle's his full-time, he'll never return full-time, but if he's going to have a WrestleMania match, he's only got so many left. I would hate for them to waste it on Jason Jordan if he's not over as a heel. There's a lot of other guys I'd rather see him wrestle. So, we got to keep that in mind. Yeah. Anyway, fuck him. All right. Kurt Angle and the Shield versus Miz, Strowman, The Bar, and Kane got 4.25 stars. I thought this was about right. I really enjoyed everything. Garbage truck stuff, kind of hokey, not exactly my thing, but I love the fact that they turned Braun Strowman babyface, and they do this a lot where they when they have these multi-man matches, they'll take one guy out, right? They'll focus on one guy, they'll take him out, and then he leaves, and then he makes this dramatic return later in the match. They did it with Brock Lesnar earlier this year, I think at SummerSlam, right? And then during Money in the Bank, they did that with Shinsuke Nakamura, where they, Baron Von Douchebag took him out early. He goes to the back, and then towards the end of the match, his music goes off, and it comes down in dramatic fashion and, cleans house. They do it a lot, and it gets me every time. So I actually, even though they repeated it, I actually really enjoyed when they did this. But the moment that they took Kurt Angle out, I was like, okay, he's coming back, and they're going to play his music, and he's going to beat the shit out of some people. And he did, and it was awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And when they took him out, I really liked the way they did it, because it made it feel real when they put the camera on him and they were checking his hands to see if there was any numbness, because, he has the neck issues. And I thought it was interesting that they played that up, because I figured that would be a storyline that they would want to keep away from TV, given, all the lawsuits and everything that's gone on with their medical staff outside. But they were checking the hands for numbness. They were trying to carry him out, and he collapsed. I just thought that really played into the story well. My only problem with the match is there was about 10 or 15 minutes of just kind of standing around doing nothing. There was a lot that was really unnecessary.
Yeah, and I thought that the beatdown of Ambrose and Rollins lasted forever.
Yeah,
it just took way too long for them to do that. It just didn't make any sense. But like I said, overall, really enjoyable match. So, what did you think of the overall show? Like, how would you rate it as a whole? Do you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, as a whole, I would give it a thumbs up, because even the bad matches I didn't really hate quite as much as I've, again, only comparing it to WWE shows. There were other WWE shows or matches that I just absolutely couldn't wait for it to be finished. As a whole, I didn't hate any of these matches. I either liked it or thought it was okay.
Yeah.
And the matches I did like, I really liked. I loved seeing Balor versus Styles. I loved seeing Kurt Angle just suplex people like crazy and put Sheamus through a table. Seeing Cesaro and Sheamus trying to do a double razor's edge to Ambrose and go through a table, and then they messed it up. and Cesaro was just like, well, what can you do? And then Strowman has to freaking launch him through it, and barely broke it still. Are they getting their damn tables from Japan at this point?
I guess,
come on,
man.
guys.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell they got these tables, but that shit was weak.
Yeah, and honestly, even looking at the Elias Jordan match, it wasn't a good match, but the finishing spot where Elias just smacked the shit out of him with the guitar, and when they were taking Jordan out of there, he already had a welt on his arm from where he got hit. He smacked the shit out of him.
Wasn't that on Raw?
No, that was on.
No, it wasn't on the pay-per-view. That was on Raw, wasn't it? That was the next night.
No, because I didn't watch all of Raw. I only watched the last 30 minutes. So
Shit,
maybe they repeated it.
Oh, there's just so many matches. I can't. Yeah. There's so much content out there. It's hard to keep up with it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I would say overall a thumbs up. Especially, it was a 2-match show. But before all the changes happened, it was a one-match show. So they gave us that AJ Styles Finn Balor match, and it lived up to the hype, and I think that they could do that some more in the future. I was fully expecting Gallows and Anderson to come down at some point, but they didn't. And we got a little bit of a tease there at the end with them doing the Too Sweet at the end of the match. So I think that was kind of like an ode to the indie marks, all the Bullet Club fans.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. And the nerds on Twitter just fucking, they all had a collective orgasm at the same time seeing them do the Too Sweet. And then I'm sure the Young Bucks started crying.
Yeah, and the crowd went nuts for it too. Like, that's the most important part, is you really don't know how much of wrestling that WWE fans know outside of WWE. So the fact that the entire crowd reacted to it, I think, is a good sign. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, well, that's going to do it for our TLC segment. Let's get into some UFC quick hits. I just got some notes here. I don't know if you saw it over the weekend, but I did get a chance to check it out on my phone. Darren Till. I am a huge UFC fan, and I've heard of this guy. I did not know much about him. He destroyed Cowboy Cerrone. He beat the fuck out of him, and he made it look easy, and I did not see it coming. Did you get a chance to see any of the clips online or anything like that?
Yeah, I didn't watch any of the highlights yet. I seen the picture of Cerrone's face.
Oh my god!
Mid-match, and even Cerrone tweeted it out, like, "You broke the fuck out of my nose, man." It blew my mind, because, like, Donald Cerrone is just a madman. He's one of the craziest fighters in UFC. Like, he's the guy who will have a fight on Saturday night. Somebody will drop out for the next Saturday, and he'll take it on 2 days' notice.
Oh yeah,
he'll fight anybody anywhere.
Yeah.
So to see him just get absolutely destroyed like that, blows my mind.
Yeah. I think it's time for Cowboy to go back down to 155. I think these guys at 170 a little big for him, but he did really good at 170 for a while. But once you start getting that upper echelon of the division, you realize that he's kind of overmatched. So I'd like to see him go down to 155. And then Darren Till called out Mike Platinum Perry, who's a white trash piece of shit, but he's a pretty good fighter. So it looks like they're going to have a fight, so that'd be pretty interesting. But that was really the only note I had for the UFC over the weekend. UFC 217, that was the one that was main evented with Tony Ferguson versus the Motown Phenom Kevin Lee. They did over 200,000 buys. And the reason why I made this note is because I honestly thought that this would break the record for the worst drawing pay-per-view, considering that the co-main event was Demetrius Johnson versus Ray Borg. So kudos to Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson to get that many buys despite having the negative buy machine and Demetrius Johnson on the show.
Yeah, could you imagine if Demetrius Johnson wouldn't have been on there? They might have cracked 400,000 or 500,000.
Oh, easy, dude. We're talking maybe even Mayweather McGregor numbers.
Yeah, there's no telling.
Right. Speaking of which, Jim Lampley, the HBO boxing guy, who's kind of a dickhead, really. He's always talking shit about MMA for no real reason at all. He's like Mike Gaspar, our good friend, one of my brothers. I love him to death, but he's like one of these snobby boxing guys. And every time he gets an opportunity, he likes to take a shot at MMA. And he was also not a fan of the McGregor-Mayweather fight. And he happens to think that it was fixed. And that Mayweather threw the rounds in the beginning of the fight.
Well, I mean, Mayweather pretty much said he was holding back because he was going to let McGregor tire himself out. So
basically he had a good strategy that worked, and then he knocked McGregor out. Yeah. So, but Lampley... But when you say the word he threw them, it's implying that the fight was fixed.
I mean, I don't buy the fight was fixed. I think that was just Mayweather's strategy, was to get a fighter he knew had bad cardio issues to get tired, because he knew that he wasn't going to get knocked out by him. So just let him get tired and then knock him out in the later rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought that was a smart strategy. I don't know where this guy's coming from, but that's just sound boxing to me.
Right. No, he's just a boxing snob, so fuck him. Fuck him. I love Mike Gaspar, but fuck Jim Lampley. Yeah. Dana White is a liar.
Yep. It's been a while since. It's been longer than I would have expected to have that segment.
Yeah, I don't know that he's told a lie that we know about in the last couple of weeks. So I think last week I said he was a dickhead or an asshole or a fuckface or something like that because of the Jason Aldean stuff. But no, he's just a liar this week. He claims Mayweather McGregor did 6.7 million buys. And turns out Showtime, who was the ones promoting the fight, said it was 4.5 million. So there you go.
Yeah.
Dana White lied.
I think 4.5 million domestic with maybe another million worldwide. So still far below what Dana White is saying.
Dana White is rounding up another million. So, yeah, he's making stuff up, folks. He just wants that number because then it would become the biggest of all time. And I think it already is the biggest of all time. So he doesn't have to lie more. Like why do you have to? He's lying so much. He's starting to sound like Vince.
I mean, they are very similar in personality, so it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Lil Nog, Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, he popped for roids. But surprise, surprise, he says he didn't do it. It says it was a tainted supplement. So,
wow.
There you go.
I mean, that defense has never not worked, so I'm not surprised he is going with it. It seems foolproof.
Yeah. Speaking of a guy who tells the truth, though, Jesse Taylor, he's the most recent winner of the Ultimate Fighter. He popped for clomiphene, the same steroid that Brock Lesnar and John Jones popped for, and he is admitting that it's because he has to take boner pills. Well, the guy's younger than me, and he's taking boner pills. He says he sees a holistic doctor, some fucking freak, and they give him these Chinese boner pills or something, and that's what he tested positive for. So he's saying he's innocent. It's not his fault. It's his dick pills that made it do it. So
wasn't there somebody else who tried to use the boner pill excuse?
John Jones.
John Jones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what John Jones said. Brock Lesnar said, "Fuck you, I'm not saying anything." And then everybody's pretty much forgiven him for that. So he's just like, you guys can suspend me. I'm rich. I don't care. But John Jones gets up in front of everybody and cries and said, "Sorry, it wasn't my fault. It was my dick pills." And Jesse Taylor is saying he knowingly took this stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, sorry, it's my boner pills. That's why." So,
well, it's a rock hard defense.
Yeah, absolutely, very solid. Yeah, Michael Bisping, who was he's headlining the next UFC pay-per-view, but he's in some trouble right now. Turns out he beat up a guy at 24 Hour Fitness. Now, let me tell you the story. So, Michael Bisping is working out, and a guy comes over before Michael Bisping is done using them and takes the weights, right? I'm on Michael Bisping's side. This guy fucking deserved it. I cannot stand when people do that at the gym. If I'm not done using the weight, you don't fucking touch it. You ask me for my permission before you get to take the weight. Don't just take it, motherfucker. That's what happened right here. I'm on Bisping's side. I think the Anaheim police is also on his side, and they didn't arrest him. They just questioned him, but I guess this douchebag is trying to sue Bisping for beating him up. Honestly, I think it should just be put into law, like congressional law, that you get to do that to somebody.
I mean, we have a president now who sounds like he's willing to just sign an executive order to make that happen. So,
yeah,
maybe send the idea to him, because I agree with you. Don't go take another man's weight when he's in the middle of a workout. That's just stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an ass whippable offense. It's just it's just like texting in the movie theater. Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's un-American.
Somebody got shot in a movie theater in Florida a few years ago because he would not put his phone away during the movie, and that's open carry there. So the guy pulled out his gun and shot him. And you know what? He was right. That guy deserved it.
I fully believe the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooting was because multiple people were on their phone during that movie.
I can believe it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the guy wasn't crazy. He just had too many fucking teenagers texting around him, and he lost it.
Fucking millennials, man. Can't stand them.
The worst.
Yep, absolutely. Anyway, the show took a dark turn again. Did you see? I actually got a chance to watch Mousasi on Friday night and Bellator, and he beat Alexander Shlemenko, some Russian dude. Russian guy who's been around a long time, and he barely snuck by him, but he won the fight. So good for Mousasi. It looks like he's going to challenge for the Bellator middleweight title next. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know Bellator's really been on the uptick this last year, so good for them, and hopefully, they can get more viewers and maybe get a better TV deal, in the near future, because they've really been on the upswing this last year.
Yeah, I don't see them getting a better TV deal considering the network owns them. So I don't.
You know what? Didn't know that.
Yeah. Viacom, which owns Spike TV, actually owns Bellator. So the TV deal they got is what they got.
Will they still be on that network when Spike TV turns into like whatever the hell it's going to be now?
It's Paramount. Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, at the beginning of the year. It's one of their top-rated shows. They're not getting rid of it, and they own it, so they got to put it somewhere. So yeah, it's going to be on the show. All right, there's a UFC Fight Night this weekend, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of matches that I'm pretty intrigued by. Derek Brunson is taking on the returning Lyoto the Dragon Machida. He's a former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world. I'm pretty excited about that. Lyoto's been gone for a while. I talked about it a while back, but he tested positive for DHEA, which is just a $10 supplement you can get at Walgreens. It's not even a steroid. It's just like a vitamin that people take. So it just happens to be on the banned substance list, and he didn't even test positive for it. He just was filling out his thing and said, "What are you taking?" And he said, "I'm taking this." And they go, "Oh, did you not know in this list of 1 million different drugs that you're not supposed to take it?" And he was like, who the fuck reads that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, why would that even be illegal? So it sucked for him. He's been gone for a while, but I think Brunson beats him here because Machida's kind of getting up there in age, and Brunson's looked pretty decent lately. But Brunson's gonna take on Machida, and then we got Damian Maya taking on Colby Covington. For wrestling fans, Colby Covington's been on TNA lately, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Maya because of that. But
now, will this Fight Night, is that going to be on Fox Sports 1, on just the? Yeah,
Fox Sports 1. Yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah, so if you ain't got shit to do on Saturday night, you got a free UFC fight card. Me, I'll most likely be watching the World Series though, and then checking out that on tape delay. But it should be a good show with that double main event.
Hold on. Did you just call it tape delay?
Fuck! Did I just age myself?
Yeah.
Yeah. On a DVR. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I'm recording it on my VCR and then I'll watch it the next day. Hey,
yeah, you gotta get the double VCR going.
Hey, you're the one that still has all my old tapes, bro. I don't even own any tapes. You're the one that owns tapes.
I'm fucking proud of that collection too, man.
Yeah. All right. So I got some more WWE quick hits. There's some Survivor Series matches announced. I think we already kind of talked about that. Horsewomen versus Horsewomen is going to be at WrestleMania. So, not a Survivor Series. I guess Survivor Series is going to be strictly SmackDown versus Raw. So, they're going to bring in Ronda Rousey and Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke and Shayna Baszler to take on Sasha. Did I say that right? Sasha, Charlotte, Bayley, and Becky Lynch, the gangbanger of SmackDown, Becky Lynch. So that should be pretty cool. Which pretty much rules out Conor McGregor's involvement at Mania. And they're not going to pay for him too, right?
No, not at all. I mean, you've already got too many MMA people on that card. A lot of money sunk into it, and I want to give a kudos to Ronda Rousey. You know, she's at the actual Performance Center down there in Florida working on her wrestling craft, so she's really putting in the work for it to actually have a good wrestling match as opposed to just being a carnival attraction.
Right. Yeah, good
she's
for her.
Actually putting work in.
Well, and she's been training in Los Angeles with Brian Kendrick, and then so it's good that she's made the move over to the Performance Center too to really get that seasoning. She's gonna need it, man. A lot of these fighters think they can come over to pro wrestling and just and do what they do, but it's a whole different world, man.
I mean, only a few of them have been, pretty successful at it. Just off the top of my head, I mean, Ken Shamrock back in the 90s, but
whoa.
Riddle and
I got to correct you there. Ken Shamrock was a pro wrestler before he became a fighter.
Was he?
Yeah, not a lot of people know that. He was like an indie wrestler back in the 80s. He was trained by Buzz Sawyer in Sacramento. And I can't remember. He tweeted out a video, I think yesterday or today, about his old wrestling stage name. And then he got hooked up with Dean Malenko, who had friends over in Japan or whatever, and they had connections in Pancrase. And they said, "Would you be interested in shoot fighting?" And he said yes. And he didn't really have a shoot fight background. He knew some submissions and things like that. And he had a basic wrestling background, but he went over there and he just started kicking people's ass in Pancrase and kind of learned as he went. So he was a pro wrestler who became an MMA fighter, and that's why when the WWF brought him in, they brought him in like right away because he had already had all the wrestling training, and that's why it took so well to it because he was a pro wrestler first. So, yeah, him and Sakuraba, both pro wrestlers before they became MMA fighters. So not a lot of people know that. Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected, but there's been very few who have made the transition smoothly. So it's really cool to see that Ronda Rousey, someone as big as her, is putting in all this work. And at this point, she'll probably have about 6 to 8 months worth of actual training before stepping in for her first match. So good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be awesome. Let's see. Bullet Club. I thought this was pretty funny. So they got a house show. The Ring of Honor has a house show November 17th and in San Antonio. That is the night before NXT TakeOver War Games, which is going to be in Houston. Also interesting, on November 17th in San Antonio, NXT has a house show. Same night, going head-to-head with Ring of Honor. And they brought in Adam Cole to take on Drew McIntyre for the NXT title, with special guest Shawn Michaels as the referee. So Bullet Club, in order to stick it to McMahon, they're actually offering a 10% discount for anybody with the last name McMahon to come to the show. So if you present your ID card, they're going to give you 10% off your ticket to get into the show. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. Go ahead and save like $2.50 on those $25 tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, I really like Ring of Honor, but man, I hate the Bullet Club so much right now.
Oh, God. You're alone in that. I love the Bullet Club.
Not the whole Bullet Club. The Cody Rhodes and the Jacksons. To me, they're just coming off as like the fourth graders who talk shit to high schoolers because they know that high schooler can't punch them in the face.
Yeah.
But they want to look cool in front of all their fourth grade friends.
I know. And you know what? And I dig it. I think it's entertaining as shit. I love it.
It just annoys the shit out of me.
Yeah. Speaking of the Bullet Club and the Elite, just announced before we actually went on the air was Kenny Omega is going to be on that show November 17th, going head-to-head with NXT. So I'm actually really intrigued in this storyline of who draws more. NXT, which is not going to draw the same as the WWE crowd, unless it's a takeover. So they're house shows, and you've been to one, right? How many people were at that house show?
See, it was early on in their touring, and it was in Tulsa. I would say there was maybe 500 people there.
Right. Now this is going to be
that was one of their first tours. Also, keep that in mind.
Yeah. But this is going to be a Survivor Series weekend, and San Antonio is just a few hours away from Houston. It's not a bad drive. I've done that drive. I could see this being a big deal on that Friday night, and I'm really intrigued to see where this goes. So, man, I really wish I was able to go down to Texas with my wife during that time, but it's just not going to work out.
If Vince McMahon just really wanted to stick it to Ring of Honor, this is me. I'm a crazy asshole. I would do something stupid like this. I would announce a Daniel Bryan return, even if you don't have him wrestle. Announce the Daniel Bryan return. Have him come do some yes kicks or somebody.
Yeah, because little known fact, he trained in San Antonio to become a wrestler.
He did, and he openly bragged about how many concussions he got down in training with Shawn Michaels down there.
Yeah.
Which is probably not helping his case now.
Not at all. Yeah, but that's pretty interesting. There's a weird story going around and a lot of different versions of it. And we talked last week about how Sports Illustrated is becoming kind of like a, fake news for pro wrestling. As sports, they do okay with regular sports, but with wrestling, for whatever, they seem to get it wrong a lot. Mm-hmm. But man, enough people are saying that Nia Jax called her cousin The Rock and said that she was unhappy, and The Rock told her to walk out. But Dave Meltzer, who has been very credible for 40 years, is saying that is false, and that she just asked for some time off because she's getting burnt out, and said that anything about The Rock is completely untrue. I don't know who to believe here.
I'm going to side with Meltzer just because, Alexa Bliss also came out and said in an interview with New York Times, Alexa and Nia are very close outside of the ring. She just said that Nia was burnt out and needed some time off. She hasn't taken any time off since she went to the Performance Center. She has not stopped touring, not stopped wrestling since she went to the Performance Center. So I'll believe Meltzer and Bliss on this because I have no reason to believe otherwise.
Right. Now, is it possible that she called her cousin The Rock and said she was burnt out? Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, probably.
And what would Rock's advice be to her? Probably, do what makes you happy. And so she just asked for some time off and took a few weeks. So
now another thing, just knowing what we know about The Rock, I don't see him suggesting to anybody, especially a family member, hey, you're unhappy, just quit, just get up and leave. Like, that doesn't seem like the kind of advice The Rock would give somebody. He usually seems to be the exact opposite of like, hey, get your shit together, bust your ass, put in the work.
Right. I mean, he's the one tweeting at 4 a.m. of him lifting weights.
Yeah.
You know, saying don't give up, start the day off right. Yeah.
So yeah, I could see him saying, "Hey, you know, ask for some time off. I'm sure they'll work with you." But I couldn't see him saying, "Hey, you're unhappy, leave. Ask for more money, whatever." Right. That's not the kind of advice I see The Rock giving.
Right. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. I'm gonna go with Meltzer on this one. Justin Barrasso has not really proven himself to me yet, so he needs a few more stories that can be corroborated before I believe what he says. But it is kind of cool that Sports Illustrated is covering wrestling. So.
Yeah, I mean, they've been picking up on more and more stories here or there. Hopefully, they start giving accurate information. Right. But whatever gets wrestling in front of more people's eyes, I'm okay with it.
Absolutely. All right, and now the rest of the story. Do you know where that's from, by the way? You're a radio.
Is that Dan Rather?
No, you're a radio guy.
I mean, country radio.
Oh, it's Paul Harvey.
Paul Harvey. Okay.
Paul Harvey. Yeah, he did AM talk radio for a long time. So
yeah,
he's dead. Anyway, and now the rest.
I mean, if he did AM talk radio, I'm not surprised.
Right. And now the rest of the story. WWE Hall of Famer Donald Trump, who happens to be the president now, has decided he's going to release the JFK documents that the National Archives have been holding on to. And a lot of conspiracy theorists, maybe I'm on that side too. we're pretty intrigued by this and hoping to find out who really did it or what really happened. And I was hoping to give everybody some big news here, but it was a big nothing burger, and he didn't release all the documents. Yeah. I'm shocked, but he lied. Can you believe that?
I was astounded that Donald Trump would say something and then do the opposite.
Right. He said he was going to release every document, and then he released a couple of documents, and then he said that he can't due to national security. How could those documents be dangerous to national security? I just don't get it, man. It's been over 50 years.
Well, do you want to know what it really is? Yeah. Aliens.
Oh, well, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. You got to get a picture of crazy alien guy, because the aliens obviously took out JFK because he was trying to go to space and he was fucking with their shit.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe in the document somewhere they find out that the Earth is flat somehow.
Yeah. or they're just trying to cover up the fact that Ted Cruz's dad did it. Yeah,
they're afraid that there's going to be an uprising in Texas against the Cruz family.
Yeah.
I can see that. Davey Boy Smith Jr., this is pretty cool. He saved a woman's life who was getting ready to jump off a bridge. And he actually went and climbed onto the edge of the bridge and then got her into like a wrestling move and then tackled her and then put her on the ground and then kind of mounted her and then would not let her move and get up. And she threatened to shoot him. She said she had a gun, all this and that. But, turns out she didn't. And the cops showed up and they thanked him. And turns out he's kind of a national hero there in Calgary.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great story to hear, and good for him. And, obviously the important part of the story, hopefully she gets some help from here.
Yeah.
But, really good for him. He saved a life there, so that's always nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. That was pretty cool. New Japan Pro Wrestling, they will not sign Matt Riddle because he smokes pot. Can you fucking believe that?
I am not surprised. Apparently, that is much more of a stigma in Japan than it is in America. They also had the incident with Matt Sydal a couple of years ago where they did take a chance on a guy like that, and it came back to bite him in the ass pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I think Sydal is not allowed in Japan anymore.
He's not,
because he got busted over there.
Yeah.
So it sucks, but it makes sense.
Yeah. I lived in Japan for 2 years, and that never really came up on, obviously I'm in the military, so we're not allowed to do that. So, right. So I never really heard about, how much they hated it there. So it just was never brought up. So I was kind of, when the whole Matt Sydal thing was going down, I was kind of surprised to hear that. So I was I didn't realize that was such a big deal over there.
Yeah. And from what I've read, it's also part of the reason that WWE didn't initially sign Riddle at his tryout, because he was coming fresh off of the suspension with UFC, and they wanted to see him keep his nose clean for a little bit longer, and they helped him get set up with Evolve and Progress. Hopefully it works out for him in the end. I mean, he's been phenomenal and has progressed faster than anybody would have thought.
Yeah, he's great.
I'd really like to see him in NXT someday. It sucks that he lost out on a New Japan deal because that come up, but the guy's proven that at the end of the day, he's going to come out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Jarrett checked into rehab, I guess earlier today or yesterday.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
There had been some warning signs going on. He showed up to a event in Mexico at AAA, Triple Mania, one of their big events, and was just in no condition to perform. And, it seemed like he was doing okay, but TNA released him, and then he was in an event in Canada, I think it was Calgary, and he was there wrestling, and he was, I guess, just drinking vodka or something and passed out backstage, and then somebody woke him up, and he went out to his match, and it was just god-awful, and then he ended up going back home the next day. You feel bad hearing a guy like that. Nobody wishes ill on anybody, and I've never met Jeff Jarrett, so as far as I know, he's cool. But you worry about a guy like that, and hopefully he gets the help he needs. It turns out WWE, they're doing right by him and sending him to rehab, even though he hasn't worked in their company in 20 years. So kudos to WWE and kudos to Jeff Jarrett, and I hope he makes it out okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who will talk shit about WWE and on a lot of things, but when it comes to substance abuse issues like that, they've stood behind people and really have helped as many people as they can. A lot of younger wrestling fans, people around even my age probably wouldn't know that Jeff Jarrett ever worked for them. The only reason I know is I've got all those old-ass wrestling tapes that you gave me. So, I used to have to watch a bunch of that stuff. You made me get educated, so... good for them standing behind him. I think he only had a short run there. I don't think it was very long. But that's one of the best things that they do is just standing behind guys like that and really helping those people get help.
Well, they got a policy that if you've ever worked for them for any period of time and you have a substance abuse issue, they'll hook you right up. So that's good. Oh, sorry, I was like mid-burp. But yeah, they'll hook you right up, man. And no, Jeff Jarrett was a big star for them. He worked for them from 93 to about 96. He went to WCW. Didn't really work out there. Then he came back in 97. And he was there for 2 years. And then he was Owen Hart's tag team partner the night Owen Hart died. Not a whole lot of people remember that. And he became Intercontinental Champ. And then he had a feud with China and all that stuff. And that's where he started smashing his guitar over people's heads. And he cut his hair. And so the Jeff Jarrett gimmick that you see today was started in WWF back in 1999. And then he went over to WCW. And, never came back. So, but, good for them. It's good that they don't hold a grudge like that, and they'll actually take care of somebody who really needs help. So, they actually are the ones that helped out Kurt Angle quite a bit. Kurt Angle was working for TNA whenever he was going through his substance abuse issues, and WWE still put him in rehab, even though he was working for the competition. So, that's how cool they are. Yeah,
well, they've spent, to my knowledge, about $100,000 to $200,000 for Scott Hall. For his multiple rehab stints, and each time he failed, they still put him right back through it. So
they
don't give up, and that's awesome.
Yeah, because my childhood was filled with wrestlers dying young left and right, and it's just not something you see anymore. Wrestlers that die these days are old, so that's good. Dusty Rhodes was 67 or something. That's still pretty young, but he had a disease, and then so did Roddy Piper. So. Hopefully we see guys living longer and longer and longer. Because when I was a kid, man, Brian Pillman was 34 when he died. Can you fucking believe that? And it's because substance abuse. Eddie Guerrero was 38. Chris Benoit 39. So it was a real dark time in wrestling there for a while. So they had to do these things, and the fact that they continue to do it, and it really has shown. The statistics have changed, and it's all because of them, honestly. So.
Yeah, they don't get enough credit for that.
Yeah, so good for them, good for WWE. All right, who gives a shit? I got mine written here, but what do you got?
Man, all right. It's not quite as big as anything else. I try to not harp on NXT for much. The NXT takeovers consistently, from top to bottom, have been the best events in wrestling. But coming up at NXT Takeover, Shawn Michaels and Johnny Gargano are having an ab-off.
I don't think that's going to be televised.
Yeah, don't think it's going to be televised, but they are talking about it. They're going to promote it. And man, I could not give any less of a shit. Like, the moment I heard it, my first thought was it was going to be on TV. And I was just wondering how the hell they're going to present this to an NXT live audience. But I mean, I guess good for, like, Shawn Michaels is already going to be there. He's been involved with the product more. My initial thought was, and I would have actually been interested in it, is when in the middle of the ab-off, if Ciampa was going to come back and attack Gargano.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would have been awesome, but I feel like he's still a couple months away from being able to return. I don't even think he started started back at the Performance Center yet. But that's my who gives a shit. Like, I'm all for seeing Shawn Michaels involved in the NXT product, and I'm all for him being a part of it. But man, that is just ridiculous.
So who do you think wins?
Oh, Gargano, easily.
Oh, really?
The guy is, he's shredded all the time.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know, Shawn Michaels, he's in great shape these days.
Yeah, but he's still like a 50-year-old Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's true. And he was never like a body guy, so we'll see, man. Even though we don't give a shit, I'm kind of interested in who wins. Yeah. You know, I think what's most important is that they tan their asses, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, bodybuilders got to, man. If you're gonna look good, you got to get that spray tan going. Yeah.
If you don't spray tan your butthole, Joe will give you a disapproving tweet. So you don't want to face that.
Will.
Yeah. My who gives a shit. Even though I am a fan of Elias, I'm a fan of what he does with the whole guitar thing. It cracks me up each time. But I don't give a shit about Jason Jordan versus Elias.
No.
Don't care at all. Their match on Sunday was terrible, and I think they redid it on Monday, and it was also terrible. And it looks like they're going to actually have a full-blown feud going on here in the next few weeks. And it's just like, man, you're feuding, and Jason Jordan's like comebacks are awful, and then he just throws vegetables at the guy. It's like, who gives a shit? Why do I want to see them fight?
You know, here's what I think happened is they were trying to put together a story for Jason Jordan, and they were probably piecing the card together, and it was like, all right, we're going to do Jason Jordan versus Elias, but we'll build the story later. And then they got to the end of the night, and they're like, shit, we still need to have a story for this. What are we going to do? And Vince was probably just like, I don't know, who gives a shit? Like, just whatever happens, happens. And that's kind of where things have happened.
Yeah, man, I just don't know. I don't know. It's just the whole thing sucks. I feel bad for both guys because I actually, like, I'm not proud of this, but I'm a fan of the Elias character. Are you?
Yeah, I love it. I think he gets more heat than just about anybody. I really liked on Sunday when he was playing the guitar because he's not even that good at playing the guitar.
No,
he knows a couple notes, and when he was strumming it and he missed a note, and the crowd started laughing at him, and he's like, thanks for interrupting me. Now I have to start over. Yeah. And he's just started playing from the beginning, and they booed the shit out. Like, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so next week we're going to be reviewing the Wrestling Observer Match of the Year from 1984. It is the Freebirds versus the Von Erichs in a bad street match. I am looking forward to this. So I've seen a bunch of the Freebirds versus the Von Erichs matches. I don't know that I've even seen this one, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, man, I haven't watched it yet either. It'll probably be taking up my Saturday night. I'm really looking forward to it because I've not watched them before. I've read nothing but great things about the Freebirds versus the Von Erichs. Yeah. I mean, anytime you talk about tag team wrestling, that's the feud you got to look at. That really got everything really hot. So
yeah, I mean, Texas was just Dallas, Texas specifically there in the Sportatorium. The Von Erichs versus the Freebirds, man, was just a boiling hot feud. Dude, it's so funny. We were talking about videotapes. So when I was a kid, obviously I was a huge wrestling fan, and I would always go down to the video store, and I would save up money, or I would crush cans and go get changed to go down to the video store to rent wrestling videos. It was either wrestling videos or I was renting Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
And my parents knew this, and I would record the shows on the VCR. Yeah, kids, VCRs existed. Okay, you know, I think they're a lot better than DVDs because you can't record on a DVD from TV. Just can't do it. So
not yet.
Yeah. So suck it, right? So, so I would record things, and I would collect all the tapes, a lot of which you have. Well, my dad went to a flea market, and he got a videotape for 50 cents, and it was called Legends of World Class Wrestling. And he brought it home for me, and I watched that thing, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, who the fuck? It's like, this guy looks so freaking familiar. and it was Michael Hayes. But to me, he was Doc Hendricks, the announcer on WWF Wrestling. He always did the on WWF Superstars on Saturday mornings. He was the guy that did the Slam Jam, and he was like a corny 80s radio DJ with a mullet haircut and like a bright blue blazer. And he was like the most uncool motherfucker in the world. And then I got a copy of the tape, and I was like, this guy is actually Michael P.S. Hayes, and he's awesome. Like, what the hell's going on? And then I had to be educated, later in life, just to how great the guy was. But at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, I was it was here in San Jose, and I was at the same hotel that all the wrestlers were staying at. I don't think I've ever told this story on the podcast. And I actually got a chance to share an elevator with Michael P.S. Hayes. Did I ever tell you that?
No, you didn't.
Yeah. So right when I get there, right, we pull up because we got the hotel on hotwire.com. And it was like $100 for a 5-star hotel, and they would not tell us what the name of the hotel was, but turns out it's the fanciest hotel in all of San Jose. And we pull up to valet parking, and right as we walk in, there's a huge giant WWF Championship belt, and it said "Welcome to the," I can't remember, it's like the Frontier Hotel or something like that in San Jose. I have to look up the name of the hotel. But as soon as I walk in, to my left there's a Justin Smith from the San Francisco 49ers, right? Mm-hmm. And he's got Delaney Walker, who was with the Titans, but he flew in for the show, and a bunch of the other 49ers players. I think Navarro Bowman was there, and a few of the other guys, right? They're just sitting there at a table eating. And then I keep walking further, and I'm starting to see all the WWF wrestlers. And then I see Gerald Briscoe sitting at the bar with Kevin Nash. And like there's The Miz and all these guys, one by one. Ric Flair shows up, Bret Hart shows up, Bruno Sammartino walked right past me. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's like I was living in a fairy tale. And me and Ashley, we get into the hotel, and this ginormous dude comes up in a polo shirt, and he goes, oh, hold that for me, please. And I hold it up. It's Kane in a polo shirt tucked in, getting ready to run for mayor. Yeah. The same guy that scared me as a child, who I thought murdered the Undertaker's parents. It was him. And I was just like, hello, sir. Yeah. He's like, Ashley has no idea who he is, and he goes, all right, you folks have a good evening. And then he gets out, right? And then I go to the room, and I come back, and getting ready to go see I go see NXT because NXT was right around the corner to come back. So like the next morning, I'm going down to the restaurant area to grab breakfast, and as I come down, I pass Johnny Ace and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. They're talking, and I go grab my food, and I'm getting a cup of coffee, and right next to me is Michael Hayes, and then me and him are just kind of like walking. We both get in the elevator at the same time, and I wanted to tell him the story of me getting the videotape, and I look right at him, and I say, so what kind of suit are you wearing tonight for the Hall of Fame? he goes, just watch, brother. It's going to be great. And then he just gets off the elevator. I'm like, damn it, I should have been able to talk to him a lot longer than that. But
damn it. Missed a chance.
I know, every single wrestler other than Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan that you could think of was there. I mean, I remember I snuck a picture of Ted DiBiase eating with Diamond Dallas Page. I sent it out to everybody, but yeah, that was a really cool moment. And I'll always remember the time that it was revealed to me that Michael P.S. Hayes was not actually, or that Doc Hendricks was actually Michael P.S. Hayes, and he was actually awesome at one point in time. And I think you're going to figure that out when you watch the Freebirds versus the Von Erichs from 1984, July 4th, 1984, World Class Championship Wrestling. So everybody check that out. And then what else are you watching this weekend, Joe?
I mean, I'm just going to watch some NXT. There's been some great stuff happening in the last few weeks. Honestly, I'm getting a little sucked into this Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream feud. I'm
really
behind a little bit on it, yeah.
I just don't have any interest in Velveteen Dream.
I didn't either, but the Aleister Black feud it's coming off really good. He's really stepped it up. I don't think the gimmick has longevity for Velveteen Dream, but he was a great indie wrestler from what I've read. And it's brought a little bit more out of Aleister Black. So I'm going to get caught up on the last few weeks of that and kind of see where things are going, because I'm sure that's going to be on TakeOver coming up in San Antonio. Yeah. And Aleister Black's probably my favorite wrestler right now.
Oh, okay.
So really want to see how that's going and get caught up there.
All right, and I am going to be watching the motherfucking Dodgers win the World Series, so that's what I'll be doing all weekend, and I might try to catch some UFC. Who knows? And then, of course, I'll watch the Wrestling Observer Match of the Year from 1984. All right, but that's going to do it for this week, folks. Joe, what's your Twitter account?
Joe Gilbert 1992.
And I'm at Get Up Mike, and our podcast Twitter account is at the Pod Express. And then be sure to check out our boys over at Garbage Time Points podcast. It's GTP Mike and Rick, or at GTP Mike and Rick. And we'll be posting the show. I will not forget this week. I'll be posting the show on YouTube, and then I will post the show on gtppodcast.com. So follow us there. All right, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.